where tonight we are going to talk about the latest two episodes of Survivor. We were off last week because of Thanksgiving here in America. For us Americans, Robbie, he could have done it solo, but he did.
Yeah, I should have. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So tonight I am joined by Frank, Robbie, and Kevin, and y'all hopefully just watched them on the player retrospective with Denny, and now we're here to do the recap. There's been so much that's happened since we've talked last. It was a heartbreaker. We lost Shan. Really emotional tribal council last night where we lost Liana. So we're going to just jump in and talk about all of this. So what are y'all's thoughts on the last two episodes?
I thought it was such an exciting Thanksgiving weekend. Like, having that kick off my time off was fantastic. But also, like, it was sad because big part of the season 41. Big part. Like, I think one of the iconic players of the season. So that was tough, but it was exciting to see. The gameplay, the level of gameplay that happened for that vote, I loved it.
And we've had so many episodes of setup, right? Yeah, we've had some great entertaining episodes, right? We had JD doing his thing. We had Brad doing his thing. We had a lot of funny stuff happen. But a lot of the episodes have been setting up, you know, the relationships between people, the backstories and all that stuff. And we're really getting the payoffs now for all that setup when we're actually invested a lot more in the people that are going and really what they represent, you know, to themselves or to the communities that they're involved with, and just the weight of a lot of these votes that's going on. And really the episodes are edited beautifully. And yeah, I'm loving it. It's ramping up and up to the finale. So hopefully it keeps following that trend.
And we had like two great episodes of gameplay. There was gameplay. One thing I do love is that even though there's 1,000,001 twist, that we're getting just good gameplay and strategy. And that's what's really making these episodes really like hum. You know, I'm just killing them.
Yeah, you know, obviously I'm super disappointed to lose Shan. Like, preseason, that's who I wanted to win. Seeing her on the screen, I just fell even more in love with her. But I mean, there's no denying the fact that her vote off episode was one of the best episodes of Survivor we've gotten in a really long time. I mean, just really strategic gameplay. It didn't rely on all of these twists and advantages. It was just people strategizing. And, you know, we did get to see Danny. I feel like the last two episodes we've seen him kind of step it up a little bit strategically. But, you know, I think a lot of that does go on to Erica, because Erica realizes, like, oh, crap, you know, if Shan plays her idol, like, I'm the one that this is going to fall back on. So she implements the vote split. And so I think that's pretty good on her part. And, you know, I feel like we have a lot of people building on their resumes. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top.
It's crazy how you can have, you know, the amount of players we have in the game at that point at the Shan vote, and yet they still orchestrate a 3-3-2 split and find a way to work together, and it didn't all blow up. Like, I was impressed with the fact that people were able to keep a lid on it and actually make that happen based on the amount of information we're seeing leak out. Like, almost everything that people get this season, people are finding out about it. So I was really surprised that vote actually happened the way that they planned it to.
Yeah, and I don't think it would have happened that way unless Ricard would have won that challenge. Like, he was a beast episode. In the episode we see Shan go home, he's just dominating all the challenge, wins the best reward, and Jeff has to say that 5 times. This is the greatest reward this season. Hey guys, did you know that Ricard just won the greatest reward ever? And then he comes in and wins immunities.
It was pizza.
Pizza on Survivor sucks.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
I'm taking it.
And Xander ate a veggie pizza, for the record. Like that.
Like,
man.
Vegetarian pizza, or I mean, like, did it have cheese? Because
I'm pretty sure it, like they just said Xander, we can split. Like, somebody said Xander, we can split the veggie pizza, and he was like, awesome.
I think it was Shan. I think Shan is also.
Yeah, just veggies.
Well, Xander can't be perfect. He's the golden boy, but he has to have an Achilles heel, and I guess it's not eating meat can be that Achilles heel.
Well, how funny is it though when you have Ricard, who's like, listen, this guy's given up opportunities to eat twice and got us rice as a tribe. I'm going to bring him. I'm going to give him food. And it's like, yeah, here's a slice of veggie. Here's a slice of veggie. I'm sure he loved it. I mean, they're starving to death.
Ricard did it strategically so that way he could have all the pepperoni to himself.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Like, bring Shan, bring all the vegetarians.
I'll eat the I don't think Heather's alive over
Who
here.
will eat the least amount of the meat pizza?
Yeah.
God.
Okay,
Smart
so
move. Smart gameplay.
let's just talk a little bit about the Shan episode and what was Shan's fatal mistake that she made in this
Bruh,
episode?
it was telling Ricard that he was going home. That was the biggest mistake she did. She had too much empathy for a dude that was waiting to cut her throat. It's ridiculous. That was the problem.
Yeah, honestly, not seeing the force, like there's a whole tide pushing against Ricard at that point, to the point where the core alliance, including Liana, and everybody wanted to go against Ricard. Liana goes and says, to Shan, I don't want to lie to you. They want to go behind your back and get Ricard out. Pretty much everybody seems to be on board at that point with it. And instead of Shan being like, listen, I got a strong alliance over here. I have an even tighter alliance specifically with Liana. I got to cut ties. It's going to suck. But we literally just talked about having to do it, like at the pizza. We just said someday it's going to happen. And, she just couldn't, she couldn't pull the trigger and let him go.
My favorite part of that scene specifically was when Shan's sitting there and Leon's like, I have something to tell you. They're coming. And she's like, for me, I know they're coming for me. And he's like, no, like they talked about it. I don't want you to be left out. I know they're coming for me. I know they're coming for me. And she's like, no, yeah, they're going to come get them. And she's like, yeah, I know me. Oh no, not you, Ricard. What? Wait, what? What? Ricard?
And then the water.
You can't go for Ricard either.
Yeah. I don't want to lie to you. You're not even lying. How many other seasons would you have seen that? Listen, I know you don't want to hear it. They're coming for your ally. We play it strong, we'll be good, but you got to let them go. But instead it's like,
yeah,
they're so emotional because they're like, at this point in the game, they're exhausted. They don't want to lie to each other. The bond that Liana and Shan have is real. And I think Liana put way too much weight into that information at that time. Like, yeah, it's important, but it's not Liana's game or Shan's game on the line at that point. It was Ricard's.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like, Shan's downfall comes to indecisiveness because, she didn't want to commit fully to Ricard, and she didn't trust the four enough to sacrifice Ricard. And so that indecisiveness is what axed our girl.
I think if she could have, when she got to merge, just taken her hands off the wheel, just play the social game. She's had her moves, play the social game, get people to give you information, tell you where the votes are, which is what you're good at. You stick to that, let some people make their moves, and like, I think the Nasir vote was a mistake for her, because if she loses Nasir, then it's hard for her to lose Ricard right at that moment, because if she does let Ricard go, then who does she really have sway with after those people are gone? So I think you're right. I think if she hadn't said anything to Ricard, I think that maybe he wouldn't have had that fire lit under him. Maybe he doesn't win that immunity, and then he does go home, and then... But I think at the end of the day, it was her needing to just pump the brakes when she got the merge.
Well, and also, why tell him before the challenge? Like, I get it. You want him to try hard. He's going to try hard anyway. He's going to try and win. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to fight to the death to win that. Because you're down to, what was it, Final 7 at the time, I think, or Final 8. And, like, obviously you're gonna fight to win it. And if he would have won, her and Liana could have just stayed as if nothing had happened. And it's like... Right? And it could have been private. The whole Liana never would have been outed for giving the information to Shan. Shan never would have, like, outed it to, like, just wait, see if he wins.
Why? You mentioned that Nasir going home was a mistake for her. She didn't want Nasir to go home at all. That's what Ricard wanted.
Yeah, but she could have, she could have turned against Ricard right there. Or she could have done something. She could have told Nasir, play your idol. There were things she could have done to get him to stay in the game and have that.
But she was more interested in working with Ricard. Like, she wanted to work with Ricard. Her real fatal mistake was trusting Ricard. Like, that was the real fatal mistake, is that she trusted Ricard.
Damn Ricard.
Because he was the one coming for her all along.
Yeah, I just love the two of them together because I love them both, and I love seeing two people I love work together.
Yes, it was very clear since episode 1 that was going to happen. I'm just gonna keep throwing that out there.
Oh,
I thought she would come out on top out of the two of them. That was my prediction, was that the two of them would get far and then come at a crossroads. But I thought she would be the victorious one. But not hating that it's Ricard with how smooth he's been.
Ricard is so fun to watch. He is just so intelligent, very calm. Like, he just has this presence about him that is just not frantic at all. And that's
his superpower. His pulse he has on the game is just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a great player. How do y'all think that this is ultimately going to affect Deshawn and Danny's game? Losing Shan and then obviously losing Liana the very next day.
I hope that they return to their Luvu roots and just try to pick back up Erica and Heather, because they have the numbers there. Like, they tried something else a little bit, but they still didn't come for Heather and Erica. And Nasir was someone that they didn't want to lose, but they weren't even involved in that vote. I think that they could try to recapture the original tribe-ness of it, because it's not like they ever came for them.
I think the best thing for Danny is not being with Deshawn anymore. And I know that's the farthest thing from what he wants, but the best thing for him, I think, is if Deshawn goes, because then he's at a 5 and can be the third wheel, and then move with the two that he can pick which two he wants to move with them, and then you're looking at Danny in a final 3 scenario possibly with the chance of it going to a final 2. And if he's sitting next, in my mind, if he's to go at 5, chooses to go with Erica and Heather, he's got a good ability to win a final 3 immunity and pick who he wants to go with.
I don't see somebody who's worked so closely with somebody I don't see Danny making that move, but I agree with you that if Danny just happened to find himself where Deshawn was no longer there and it was Erica and Heather, and then you had Ricard and Xander there as 2 massive targets to win the game, it would be a lot easier for Danny to go with Heather and Erica and say, listen, like, for any of the 3 of us to win, those 2 need to go. And I know we haven't worked together in a while, but we got to do it. I mean, they just worked together 2 votes ago, but I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, I think Danny's in such an interesting position because he's definitely looked at as the lesser threat between him and Deshawn. He has never, like you said, never burned Heather and Erica. He has this relationship that we've seen so much with Xander. So I'm like, if Danny can manage to get Ricard out of the game, like, I do see the path for Danny. And I'm pretty certain if you go back a few weeks ago, I said Danny's not going to win. I just didn't think that he had the storyline there. But, I think that changed a little bit too, where, we get this really emotional story. And I mean, this was a very heavily focused episode on Danny and kind of his breakout episode. And so now I see the path for him to win. I see the storyline there, and I kind of like Danny's chances now.
Yeah.
I love what Danny's been doing. I love what Danny's been doing. Like you said, this was a real big breakout for him. You hear the story about his family and his father and how he almost didn't want to include his father in his achievements throughout his life, but now he realizes that was a mistake that he had made all of his life, and he wanted to honor him out there on the island. And I thought that was a really, really powerful message. It didn't have me rooting for him over Deshawn, but he's my second favorite that I would like to win at this point.
But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these people make it to the end, because there's a reason for somebody to bring every one of them. Maybe not Ricard, but just based on his skill, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like, and even Heather, I get it. She's not winning a lot of challenges, but the value that she has in being that vote duo with Erica is huge for Erica to keep her around. And the fact that you can probably out-talk Heather to win at the end too, right? But I wouldn't be surprised to see any of these people in the finale, which is great to see. I mean, Xander. I wouldn't be surprised to see any of these people win. I would see Xander, but Xander's got an idol. Like, the guy's got so much power right now. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how Xander's still in the game. I literally, if you tell me 100 times that, hey, there's going to be this guy coming into the merge with an idol and an extra vote down in the numbers, like, okay, he is so screwed. And to say that he has made it into the final 6 with his idol.
If we take it, yeah. The guy wasn't. How many times did he not vote? Like,
yeah,
yes, he's been at risk because when he had the clue early, he couldn't vote until he got the idol officially. When all 3,
but that was only once, wasn't it?
No, I think it was.
It was like 2 or 3, I thought.
Yeah.
No, just the Voce vote.
No.
Another try.
Unless they were safe. Yeah, they might have been safe.
Yeah, they were
safe. Yeah. It was a few episodes.
Because there was 6 of them to start with. They lost Abraham first, and then they lost Voce, so then they were at 4, and then they get to the merge. Because the 4 of them,
but how many?
Evie, Liana, Tiffany, Xander goes to the merge.
But there were times where he could have went to tribal and wouldn't have had a vote.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but he did.
I mean, he found idol in like the second episode. So
which is fishes, though, you know?
Like episode 2 to episode 7, Xander couldn't have voted if he would have been at tribal.
Right, but he didn't go to tribal. Like, it wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue. If you can't vote, you know what I'm saying? I can't fly a plane, but if I don't have a plane, it doesn't matter.
I think it's definitely still an issue because having your vote is a part of how you make alliances. Without a vote, it's hard to really make an alliance.
He had an idol. He had a chance at an idol. That's an even better tool to make an alliance.
How soon did he have the idol? I forget what episode he got the
idol. I think it was episode
the second one with Voce.
Yeah, it was the second one. It was real quick.
Yeah, because they talked about voting him out over Voce.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, there was opportunities for him to not vote if that was a thing, but it ended up not being a thing. So.
Yeah, it didn't affect the votes, but it definitely affected how you play the game, I think.
There was a guy on the Circle named Bryant, and he was calm. It seemed like a surfer guy. He was mellow, and everybody thought it was too good to be true. Too good to it's got to be fake, right? It's got to be fake. And that's what I thought we were going to get from Xander. I thought Xander people were going to like, no, this guy, there's no way he's like, you know, the guy he is and polite and
I
calm,
still think he's a catfish. I think he's
didn't Bright.
But the guy's he's perfect.
Didn't Bright go first?
He's the golden boy of this season, right? Like he you know, pool his shit on the Yasa tribe and comes out, you know, shining clean, right? Like smelling like roses. The guy comes out with more power, more connections, more like. Anyways, we're getting off topic here with this train, but we see it again in this episode. He's got so much power.
Before we completely abandon this topic, Dragon Monkey brings up Xander and Heather are the only 2 that we have not gotten any emotional content from. So, like, in a way, I have a hard time seeing Xander not being in the final 3, but I have a hard time seeing him as our winner because we aren't emotionally invested in him at all. We're not invested.
But we are, though.
Any.
Right. So, I can see Xander still winning because we are invested in Xander. Because we're emotionally invested in his journey here on the island. We just talked about it. He didn't have a vote or the ability to vote for a little while. He didn't have the numbers. None of those things were things that he was able to do. So we're...
Who's the technical... Somebody's
having technical difficulties. It might be you, Kevin. Talk.
I don't know.
Man, you're an android.
Oh, let me leave the studio and come back.
Okay.
Okay, Wally's gone. Final 3, right here.
Final 3.
We're voting Kevin out for sure. You know, he wasn't reliable enough.
That's it. Robbie, I've got to actually have an extra vote I can use. I'll put it on Kiley just in case he plays an idol.
Done deal. We'll tell him Kiley, but it's really Kevin. Done deal.
It's awful. Okay.
You're good with that, right, Kiley?
Yeah, sounds great.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, how's it sound now?
Great.
Good.
We weren't talking about you at all.
Well,
Kiley tried to make a final 3 with me and Robbie, and we said no. And so we actually want you to vote with us, and we're going to get Kiley out now.
Well, easy vote for me. Kylie's gone. No, but what I was saying though, is that we're invested in Xander. We are invested in Xander based on his gameplay currently, not on whatever's happened before his past life.
He's 20 though. Like we're not going to be able to get as much of emotional.
Kevin, it's a valid point that we got in the comments where, you know, we haven't had the video. They haven't done the montage. Now here's the thing. Maybe he doesn't have some crazy heart-wrenching background that a lot of people on this season have had. You know what I mean? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. And I don't want to hold that against him either. But even just seeing him at his home life, seeing like a shot of his, like I said, his family or wherever he's from, whatever, just something that makes us, you know, more emotionally invested in him. But I think you're right, Kevin. I think that we're getting a little bit of that just from the edit that we've seen of him coming all the way from, you know, not the bottom that, you know, the Ua tribe came with 2 people, but everybody on his tribe wanted him gone. You know, everybody knew all the powers he had. People have tried to steal his advantages, and his name has been mentioned all the time. And yet somehow people still come to him with the plan because he's such a lone wolf that he's valuable and he listens. And yeah, guy's a stud.
All right,
we got a little bit of emotional stuff from Heather when she sucked at the challenge.
And I'm sure we'll get to it, but we did get a bit from Xander when it comes to the final tribal. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. But he opened up, you know, from his perspective of life, and that they showed it in the show. It made the edit, right? So, you know, it is there a little bit, but yeah, it's not the big montage.
I gotta know, like, what did Heather do? Because I mean, absolutely zero content. There's almost nobody left in the game. Like, they can give her like the give me confessional, like going into the challenge or something, but no, literally nothing.
You know, it's crazy because I think it was Julia Carter. There was someone I saw someone say something on Twitter that when you're talking about being fair, this is unfair to Heather because she is out there, she has an experience, and her family is not getting to watch her play the game because they've decided that they're going to screw her in terms of her content. Because it's not like Heather's not doing nothing. She has to be doing stuff.
I get it. But
you know,
go ahead.
One confessional an episode. I mean,
here's the thing: if you sit down and the producers say, like, "Where are you at? Who do you trust right now?" And if you're like, "I trust Erica," okay, so if you trust Erica, what do you think you and Erica are going to try to do? Well, we're going to try to work with Ricard. Like, if you give answers like that, you're not going to make it, right? So there's going to be times where, as much as production tries, and I think the taste of it that we get is, once again, at the tribal council at the end of episode 11, where Jeff goes to a few people to give their opinion on the discussion that's going on, and they're long, heartfelt, really descriptive, you know, impressions of how they feel, and they're articulate, they're well spoken, and then Heather's is very much more blunt and it's truthful. I'm not saying it's not truthful, and I'm not saying it's not valuable. I'm just saying from an entertainment perspective, if that's how blunt and short her answers were in all of her confessionals, I can see how a lot of that wouldn't make it in if it's just yes, no, maybe, and maybe that's not even the case, but yeah.
Danny Boatwright strategy. I'm not going to give these producers my thoughts. I'm going to keep it under wraps. Maybe
maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Well, they casted her, right? And then you have producers there. I help run a game called Pandemic, and we do like live. We do video confessionals and stuff like that. And in my confessionals, when I'm in there with them, if I needed more content from them, I asked another question to get more content from them. These guys have been doing this thing for 20 fucking years. There's no way you're going to tell me that they casted Heather. She went through a few rounds of casting. There's no way she doesn't have some good answers.
It could very well be
I think
true.
she has charisma, but I think I see what you're saying. But I think an older lady in the game, unless you're playing a game like a Denise that's a little dynamic and exciting, I do not think that they are going to edit a large majority of that into the season.
Yeah,
just because I think they're wanting to attract a younger crowd too, which would make sense.
I mean, she was good enough to be casted on a show out of thousands and thousands of applicants. She was one of the 18 best. They saw something in her in casting. give her a crumb when she's here in the final 6. Like, holy shit.
So, it reminds me of, like, you guys, I don't know if you guys watch wrestling. Are you guys wrestling fans at all? Growing up, like that?
When I was little.
So there's like
more,
in like the WWE. Like to admit. Yes. So then, Robbie, you get where I'm coming from. In the WWE, there's guys that are like good. They just decided that they're not going to use, and that's I feel like every season of Survivor, there's people that they just decided that they're not going to use for whatever reason, and it sucks. It just really, really sucks because it's not like they don't have charisma. I mean, Dragon Monkey said it right there because he mentioned Keith Lee. Keith Lee, dynamic in the indies, right? Goes to WWE, great in their lower division stuff. You bring him up to the main show, he still had the stuff when he was out there. But Vince decided just to not use him till they got rid of him recently. And I feel like
if it doesn't fit the narrative that production wants, then you're gonna be left on the edit room floor.
Yeah. Right? I just feel like they could have like used some of her talking to like Erica, like have her shoehorn her into Erica's story. Like if she's talking there, put her in there too. You know what I'm saying? Let them talk together. What should we do? Do you think we should like give her a little bit of screen time? Because it's not like she ain't out there.
Well, that's fair, and you know what? I get it from a human perspective. I agree. I wish everybody got three confessionals an episode. The equal.
Unless you're on the season, then they all get one.
You're saying just throw her a crumb, Kylie. I get it. Throw her something. I get it. But what I'm saying
I'm pretty certain if you go and look at to the point that Dan Spilo gets removed from the game, he probably had as many, if not more, confessionals than Heather. So
and that could be it. And the way I like to look at it, Kylie, is that why aren't they doing that? I get it. Maybe it's just the narrative, or maybe there's content that if we show you this, then you're just going to see a side of the game we don't want you to see right now. We don't want you to see Erica's game.
There's so much that goes into it, but
and I think
I'm on board
Heather
with
can
a little bit of justice for Heather.
I think she's just a genuine person, and when she talks, she's just being genuine. I think there are some people, like we saw JD, who are like they're throwing things to the producers. They're thinking, what do the producers want to hear, and they're trying to deliver that in some way. And I don't think Heather's trying to deliver anything. She's just being her.
I don't want to pull any punches though either. If you go on a show like this and you don't make moves, you don't pull the trigger when you have the opportunity to, you don't try to manipulate, you don't try to build alliances, you don't push the narrative, and you don't try to take control somehow in some manner, then
you're Danny.
Then you're not entitled to showtime because you're there. You're not entitled just because you're there, give me screen time. But if we find out that Heather's actually doing some of the stuff in the background and they edited it out to control the narrative a little bit for the viewer, then that's disappointing for Heather's family. But if Heather went out there and just rode the wave the whole way through and floated on the Erica life raft or whatever you want to call it, then you know what? Tough shit. Like, unfortunately, if you don't make the moves, I don't think just because you're there, you should get it. But I hope if she's going out that they at least give her something in her final episode as saying like, so we cared that she left. But
what we just need CBS to do is I'm sure they can do it. Just hire someone to cut this film and do it. For each person that gets sent home, cut a little highlight reel of them with footage you didn't use so they can take home, show it to their family and their friends. I think that'd be a cool idea. Maybe
one person sitting at the end that we don't give not two shits about, or we're going to waste one of the final 2 episodes to vote Heather out. And I don't really like either scenario. So
Heather's come too far to go home.
Oh,
I wouldn't vote her out.
Unless there's a final 4 double eviction, like a final 4 double vote out to go to final 2 in some crazy finale episode, and Heather just happens to be one of those 2, and you didn't need to build anything up because the other person that went home you care about more. And I'm not saying we don't care about Heather, right? I enjoyed watching everybody on the season, but if you're not making those moves, I don't think we should just hear about how you're wrong on stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's just
I definitely get that side of it too. Just throw her a crumb. All right, so let's talk specifics.
I'm the Canadian here, and I'm not even that nice.
Let's talk some specifics about episode 11 here. starting the episode off, we get the fallout from the Shan blindside, and the majority of this heat is coming onto Deshawn. Probably in large part, Liana is fueled by Shan's words. So, what are y'all thinking about Deshawn getting shit on?
Great gameplay by Ricard.
Yes.
Where Shan goes home, puts it all on Deshawn, even though her ally is the one that made this decision.
Yeah.
Her strongest ally in Ricard. The person that she was willing to lay her life on the line to save. And then Deshawn just was scapegoated, unfortunately.
Yeah. So how do y'all think Deshawn could have handled it better? Because he obviously didn't handle this in the best way.
Well, the one thing that I think he didn't take advantage of is the fact that she, being Shan, said, Ricard's got my vote for $1 million. Right? How often have we seen somebody say something like that where it's like, or even just insinuate that, and all of a sudden that's all people think about is, look at that, Ricard's already tallying up. I mean, people already would have guessed probably that Shan would have done that. But maybe in their mind, Ricard could have went to them if she didn't say it and say, listen, I just stabbed her in the back. There's no way I'm getting her vote, right? Like if she didn't say it out loud. But man, huge target on somebody when you just guarantee that. I thought she was doing that to Ricard to put a target on him. And maybe she was, or maybe she was just being honest, right?
She wasn't. She said in her exit press that she was just being honest.
Man, if I'm ever working with somebody and I stab them in the back and they go out and say, yeah, you got my vote to win, I'm like,
pissed.
Eat shit, man. Like, what are you doing to me here? Like, just tell me how much you hate me and you'll never vote for me. And then vote for me.
Yeah, because you would have to assume that her number 2 that she would want to win would be Liana. But now, by saying that, you're ensuring that Liana's not going to work with Ricard now, because she wants that vote.
Yeah, and you would think that Deshawn would be happy that it looks like the jury hates me. The jury hates me. No, Shan's not going to vote for me. Shan's over there poisoning the jury on me. I'm screwed. Bring me to the end. I'll take second place. You know what I mean? And instead, Deshawn gets kind of railed into by Liana saying, why didn't you guys, I mean, okay, I'm exaggerating slightly, but Liana was a little upset. Why didn't you guys,
pretty hot.
Why didn't you guys tell me? Why am I out of the loop? Yada, yada, yada. And then they kind of backpedal. Oh, it's not me. It was somebody else's plan. It was Ricard's plan. But this whole time when everybody's getting all dramatic, where's Ricard? Ricard's literally laying down in the shelter.
Relaxing.
And the other 3 folks are around being like, did we just go from the bottom to the absolute top? Is this what it feels like? And Ricard's just like, man, welcome to the club. I've been here all season. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like you had to suck in Ricard's dick a little too much. I don't know that he's like laying down and relaxing. He does a lot. If you haven't noticed most scenes, he does a lot of listening because he's hard of hearing, guys. So he's doing his best to take in what's happening. And that's exactly what was happening.
I think he knows right now people are about to go batshit crazy, and he's going to let people walk into lies and say, I wasn't coming after you. I wasn't coming after them. Why
the only person that
he just laid in the shelter.
I mean, I think this is definitely Ricard's demeanor. And you really see it when tribal council rolls around and Deshawn speaks up and he's like, hey, I was taking all of this heat and it made me out to be like this aggressive person. And that is not who I am. And Jeff is like, Ricard, what do you think about that? I'm sure you've got a comment about it. And Ricard's like, he even takes a pause and the deep breath.
Yep.
Yes, I do have something to say about that. And I was just like, bah!
And he nailed the answer, though.
Yes,
he nailed it.
The answer.
He answered it so well that he took all of Deshawn's hatred and said
about him is just.
He said, Shan came to me and told me that Deshawn was coming after me. And I went and told Deshawn. And Deshawn, I get it. Maybe Deshawn thinks that was a lie. But obviously it wasn't. And Deshawn's like, so you're saying Shan told you this? So really when Deshawn's asking that, what he's asking is, so Liana went to Shan and told Shan, and then Shan went to there. And it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like he's piecing all these pieces together, and immediately the hatred's not to Ricard anymore. Ricard saved him in a way.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at with the body language is if Ricard goes to Deshawn and says, listen, man, they're coming after you. They told me your plan, but let's flip it. I want to work with you. I want to work with Danny. Let's make this work. And they do it, and the vote works. And then he's like, well, fuck those guys. I'm going to hang out with these ones now. Like, if you're Deshawn and Danny, are you not thinking like, wow, we just got played by Ricard really bad? You know what I mean? Like, he used them and then went and sat with with the cool kids with the numbers. Like just smooth.
I wouldn't call them the cool kids. But
Elaborate on that, Kevin. Elaborate on that.
I will happily, man. Xander's been scrambling this whole time. Heather ain't even on the show. Erica got an hourglass. Got an hourglass of rewind time. None of those things I would call being the cool kids. I would call the cool kids the one that's been large and in charge the whole time.
Who pushed the split vote? Was that not Erica? Was that not Erica's plan? Who got herself in the middle of the split vote? Was that not Erica? Who put an entire alliance on the block by breaking that hourglass? Was that not Erica? Like, come on.
All Erica did was keep herself safe. There's no you could have never.
How well did Shan keep herself safe, and how well did Liana keep themselves safe? Gone.
I mean, Erica will go eventually. They'll all have to go eventually to be one. I don't think Erica's winning this game. If I didn't want to
jinx Erica, I'd put money on it that she makes it to the finals, but I don't want to jinx her, so I'm not going to do it.
I'll happily make that better. We bet Canadian. We bet American.
Canadian.
I think our money's worth more than yours.
You got Erica representing Canada.
Hey, you don't want to make bets with Robbie. He can't even use Venmo. So.
That's true. We don't have Venmo, so. You'll have to put it on when the geese come back from down south in the spring. Just tie it to one of them and put it out.
Hey, you'll probably grab that one.
The Canada geese coming up.
All right. So.
If that's not off topic, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So.
Did you lose where you were? So we talked about tribal.
Anything down about Danny's stuff? Any specifics? I actually kind of skipped over it because it was such a memorable part. I was like, I won't forget this, but it did. So yeah, we get Danny's story about his father.
His father, yeah, he didn't trust him. He didn't believe in him. His father died when he was young, and he felt like he basically abandoned him. That's what he was saying.
I mean, those are.
Yeah, he said when he was 8, he passed away in a car accident. I believe.
Really strong feeling to have from such a young age, and something to carry with you for so long. I mean, like I literally have chills, like even just thinking about it for him. Like, you know, as a mother, my heart breaks for this little boy, and something that what the crap, I'm getting emotional for Danny. Like, you know, this is just.
Danny sucks. He's a horrible player. Just kidding. I'm trying to break your emotions. He's brutal. He's horrible.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's one of the things I love about Survivor, though, is it unplugs you. You're out there. You have nothing to do but reflect on who you are as a person. You don't have distractions. You don't have to worry about work, about when do I pay this bill? What am I eating next? You are there with nothing. The people next to you, and that's what I love, is the growth that people have while they're surviving out there with nothing.
It's bittersweet for me with this season, though, specifically because in the past you would get a couple, empathetic stories in the beginning, first episode, second episode, maybe third episode. And then after that, it was just gameplay the rest of the season. Maybe, you would get some stories that would come in, right? You have, obviously, Adam tells a story about his mother and whatnot towards the end of the game and whatnot. But a lot of it, those empathy, montages or whatever you want to call it, were played at the beginning. And a lot of them were on the people who played big parts, either the winner or whoever they wanted you to care about in the edit. And I get it where this season they're showing us a lot of that. So it doesn't really give anything away because you see it and then people get voted out or they don't. Like, there's no real pattern there. But we're seeing so much of it that I'm not saying that it dilutes the stories that you do hear, but we're hearing so much about it. Every probably second episode, we're hearing another story where it's like, I get it, but I also want to feel fine when somebody gets their throat slit on the show and gets stabbed in the back. I don't want to be like heartbroken when everybody, I feel like it's, I don't know. I'm torn. Some episodes I love it, and some I'm like, man, I get it. I feel like
we know this cast, and they're going to end up being the cast that we have the least amount of time with because they're only playing for 26 days. But I feel like we know these people. Like, we know Deshaun's story, we know Shan's, we know
I think it's the montages specifically, though. Like when
well, I mean, it is the montages.
That's what I'm saying. When
it does
on the beach,
make you feel invested in these people, and so. It's just another way that Survivor producers have just opened up another dimension And, maybe this is Survivor in the 40s and what we're going to get.
I hear what you're saying. I like it, but I wish that it would be more about when they're telling the other contestants, like sitting on the beach when Danny was opening up about it after he won and he was broken down, and then he went back to Deshaun and say, you know what, this is why really this is maybe I was thinking about it. I said, do it for him, make him proud, kind of stuff like that. I like that aspect of it, but I just feel like it's too much. Like they're almost capitalizing on it too much when it's a whole video montage and it's not a natural thing. And they're forcing that story upon, making the people talk about it instead of it coming out in it's worth so much more when it comes out naturally. Somebody's having a hard day and they say, here's what I've been through, man. Like, this is what I'm thinking about today. I'm sorry. I just want to go, like, remember when Ben, right? Yeah. The fire, the logs exploded in the fire and he started having, flashes of PTSD, and he had to take his time. And then he had to explain that to people. That was far more, I really cared a lot more about that because he saw it in action. It was natural. Than if Ben just sat on a rock at the beginning or some episode and said, here's what I'm going through. And they showed a video montage of it. I feel like when you see it naturally happen, I feel like, and maybe we didn't get it. So that's why they edited the show the way they did. But I don't know. It feels too forced sometimes. And
he was talking about it being he's talked about his dad. Like you can't physically see that it's his dad's birthday. Like you can't see that. So that's why he had to explain that.
But you see the guy break down crying when he won, and you know why, because of how he explained it. Like I cared a bit more, but when he fell down, I felt that where he was like broken down, laying on the ground crying. That hit me harder than the video montage did. And I get
but
the
I mean,
content.
would you
the montage
you hadn't gotten all of that, and I mean, Kevin, I think I'm probably taking your thought, but I mean, the video montage was really kind of more of like Danny's, like growing up as opposed to actually the story that he was telling.
But they framed it all in that, right? Like it started off with, I'm going to the beach, I'm having a rough day, here's why, here's a video of my background, and then back to him explaining it to like people on the beach. And like I said, I feel like when we see it and when it happens, it hits me a lot harder than when production just says, here's a video to make you care.
So, Robbie, think about this. Close your eyes. Think about this. My guy wins immunity.
Yep.
He gets down to his knees and he lowers his head. And you just see this emotion. Do you not think that he just is emotional because he won immunity? No, that's what I would have thought at the time.
I agree. But what I'm saying is he already had a conversation earlier in the day to the camera just talking about it. Like the video montage itself, I'm separating that. Like, I don't mind. They mentioned it beforehand. I think it was totally valid. I mean, the guy is living that. That's part of the game. He's secluding himself on the beach away from everybody. He even went to Deshaun and said, listen, man, if you see me walking around by myself, I'm not distraught from gameplay. It's just a rough day. Here's why. And he explained it. I feel like that hit me harder than like when he's actually telling people, other than him sitting with production and then like kind of tricking it out of him and then putting the video montage there. I don't know. It feels more real. Like I get it. I get it, but I don't know. There's so many times when I feel like if production has their fingers into something a little too manipulative, that's when it hits me a little different. I'm just like, man, it just feels a little.
So you feel like do you feel like they drew it out of him?
I feel like they drew it out of a lot of people this season. And I feel like this is just an example where it's adding on, maybe not as much, right? Obviously when he's on the beach, that's all legitimate, right? But then when they get him to do a confessional right afterwards and put the montage afterwards, obviously they called him over and said, okay, why are you so, secluded today? Explain to me about that. Walk me through what that was like as a child, or walk me through so then you get the audio clip that they can put on top of the video montage. And I feel like it's no different than any other question that they ask, but it's like when you watch Big Brother, and I know Big Brother Canada does it, but sometimes you watch an episode and you really feel production is massaging it in a certain way. And I'm like, just let it happen. Just let it happen. And I feel like we were already getting it. He was already giving the content, but they're like, we need to milk this even more. So let's put a whole video montage on it. I feel like sometimes it's warranted. And I feel like sometimes it just feels like I said, they're positioning it in such a way where it's I don't know. It feels like they're milking it a bit. And I don't mean they're milking it like it wasn't value, like everything that we saw wasn't true. I just mean like it didn't feel as genuine when it's coming from production as it does when it comes from the actual person. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And we can disagree on it. I mean, it's totally fair.
Yeah, you just like a more candid. You like to bond with the characters more fluidly, like more organically. Yeah, that's the word.
When people do things, yes, it's genuine. When one contestant says something to another contestant, or even if it's just in a confessional and it's like a blur, but when they're talking to another contestant about the hardships or whatever challenges that they're going through or illnesses that they dealt with, things like that typically isn't gameplay. That's typically them having an emotional day. They're getting real, and it stands out because it's in contrast to all the other conversations that we see with contestant to contestant. But when we see a video montage, all I feel is production. That's all I feel. 100%. I feel production.
Yeah, so I think that my emotional response is more to Danny's story. Like, honestly, like when I'm thinking back about like the things that he said and the feelings that he was conveying, I don't even recall any of the pictures. Like, I'm pretty certain I even rewatched the episode today. I'm pretty certain they had a picture of him and his father, but like, that's not what I recall from that moment. It is, his talking with Deshaun and his confessional where he's, laying himself out on the line. So,
and I agree to all that. So why do you need the video montage then?
Well, right? It's because Australian Survivor does it, and since they're hot right now, they're trying to do everything like that.
It's not that they're hot right now. I think that there was some things that they watched in the pandemic that they were like, they do this really well, and this works because it works for more than because you're right. For you, Robbie, you don't need the video montage. I didn't need the video montage either, but I think that helps some people connect more.
That's fair.
Yeah. Right? Not everyone operates on your level.
And I appreciate that completely. I appreciate that point 100%. If I'm not the target demographic that they're putting the montage on there for, maybe it's for the younger viewers that they're really trying to target this year, right? Showing how people are human and showing how that any human being can play this game and you should apply. If you're sitting at home and you want to play, look, we're all people here. You should apply. And that's been a really strong theme this season. And maybe that's why. Maybe I'm not the target demographic. But then
for the montage,
right. But then I also shouldn't be surprised that I don't want it because the demographic, right? So I can appreciate that point 100%.
All right, so we're super far into this episode, and we have not even brought up one of the biggest things that happened last night, and that is the do or die twist. So, I think a lot of us might have been tipped off a little bit about this possibly coming up. I tried to avoid spoilers like the plague. We had a lovely viewer pop in and decided to drop it in our chat. Please don't do that shit. We don't appreciate that.
They were wrong, by the way, weren't they?
They were semi-wrong. Yeah. But, it did get me on the path to this is possibly what's happening. So, yeah. What do y'all think about this? Like, do you like this twist?
I do. I like it because if you are... It's a great twist for an Aussie type player. You know that you're a physical threat. People are probably coming for you at this point in the game. So now you have a challenge where not everyone's going to be feeling, okay, I want to compete. What if I'm the first to drop? Like, I love it. I think it's 1,000% better than any hourglass.
Sure, because
I did not like it.
Strategy that goes behind the do or die, like you had to make a strategic decision to compete or not to compete, and the hourglass completely took that away. But yeah, as a whole, I hate this twist. Like,
I don't like it.
So I'm kind of on Frank's side a little bit here when it comes to I like the fact that they're trying twists this season, and we're not gonna like all of them. I do like there being that choice where if you're the first one that goes out, there's going to be a very negative consequence. So you have to decide, do you play or not? I love that aspect of it. I think the only part that I think could be improved upon is the actual challenge to survive. I wish it was more skilled based in some way, even if it was like, I don't know, like maybe make a fire in less than 60 seconds or something. I'm just making that up off the top of my head.
I know what they could have done.
But I'm saying something.
You have that person have to compete in a challenge against whoever they vote out. Like, those two people compete and one stays. That would have been a great way to do it. But I love that it thins out the herd and it gives somebody who is typically struggles at that point in the game, it gives them opportunity to excel.
I don't like the 2-to-1.
Ultimately, like, this is Deshaun's saving grace because Deshaun, without the do or die twist, would have found himself on the jury last night. And by, this crazy twist of fate, which, if y'all Dragon Monkey dropped it in the chat at the very beginning. This is not even anything I knew anything about until today, but the Monty Hall shit show. And
yes,
you know,
I was going to bring that up.
Whole thing of strategy into
it's real.
picking 3 boxes, and
that's why I don't like it.
Robbie.
No, the Monty Hall problem is a classic thing in when it comes to statistics or probability, whatever you want to call it. Where
I'm real bad at math. So.
Well, it's really straightforward. When he picked his first box, he had a 1 in 3 chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That box had a 33% chance of being the right box. Then when they reveal one of the false containers, whatever you want to call it, the box remaining that he didn't pick has a 50% chance of being right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or really, actually, there's a 66% chance, technically, because they say the other 2 boxes had a 66% chance of having it there, and they showed you which one it wasn't. So regardless, you have 2 to 1 chance. If he switches boxes, he should be right, like 2 to 1, whatever.
By statistics, Deshaun should have switched his box last night, but he didn't. And the probability of that working out in his favor is way low. Christian Hubicki actually modeled this out. You can
did he?
Check it out.
I still didn't understand it.
It's roughly 2 to 1, right? When you pick your first box, it's a 1 in 3.
It's a little bit over my head, y'all. But
it sounded like Common Core math to me.
Yeah,
I hated this twist.
It goes from a 1 in 3 to a 66, right? It's a 2 to 1. It's a 2 to 1. It's a 2 to 1 chance.
Yeah. So
I hated this thing because you play this game, you try to strategize as much as you can, and then for you to have a fly on you, and so you drop first, and then now all of a sudden it's a game of chance for you to stick around. It's
not a game of chance. You took that chance.
It's a game of chance.
He took the game of chance. He had an opportunity to not do that, and he did it. So that's why I'm okay with it. I agree with Robbie. Make it a skill, but he could have sat out and not competed.
Yeah, the chance wasn't imposed.
It would happen to anybody, though. It could have happened not just to Deshaun. Like, everyone's not going to sit out the challenge, Frank. Someone's going to be – if me and you are in the challenge, just the 2 of us, Frank, and you drop first, you are now doing this thing. One of us is going to be doing this thing.
I'm not dropping on this challenge, but
I
get it.
Everyone can't sit, right? So, like, everyone can't sit. So, for whoever it was, it's shit.
Yeah.
It's shit because you do this. Like I said, a fly flies on you, and now you're out of the competition. And then you have a game of chance to stick around, maybe? Even though you've been playing all this game with your social strategy, and you're trying your best to stick around. Imagine if Ricard went home from this, right? That's insane.
But if you feel confident in your social game, then don't play in that immunity. It's very simple.
And you know what, Frank? You mentioned something. Why didn't? And I was shocked that somebody at that point didn't take complete control of it and speak up and say, "Listen, us 4, we're voting together. There's only 3. We're 4 versus 3 right now. Us 4, let's sit out, guarantee our safety, and whichever one of those 3 isn't safe, either one of them goes home because they do or die and lose." Or we vote the other one out.
Yeah.
And just take complete, like, how ballsy would it have been if Ricard or Xander would have said, "Listen, the 4 of us, let's stick together. Let's all sit out. Let them fight over it.
Yeah.
Let them fight over it." And then
I don't think we have.
Should have been.
Because
we don't have. We didn't. I love the boldness, Robbie, but I don't think we have any of those kind of players, personality wise, on this season.
I don't think we have that kind of alliance.
No, but
or alliance either.
You would have almost forced it, though. You would have almost forced it by just showing.
You would have pushed the alliance. Yeah, you'd have presented it.
Even if you were lying, that would have been even better. Get them all to sit out. They don't win immunity and vote one of them out. It would have been freaking hilarious. Backstab Xander.
Yeah,
goes home with the whatever.
Played out very interesting.
Take control of it, because this is a perfect dynamic where somebody could step up and be like, it's like when they're doing a schoolyard pick at the beginning and the person who doesn't get picked goes home, like very first episode. Why don't the last 2 people, somebody should speak up and say, if pick me, and if we lose, vote me out first. I want to be here more than this person. They're not even saying anything. I'm fighting for my life. I'll fight for you guys to win immunity. If we lose, then vote me out. Like, people don't speak up in these moments. They just sit there. They just sit
So
there.
I just really thought that this was going to be some type of foreshadowing, because back when we got the hourglass twist, Danny is railing about like, this is some BS. This isn't how you.
Oh yeah, he loves it now that his guy was safe though.
And Deshaun,
I don't think he loved it either. I don't think he would
making history.
And I was
making history.
If he does not get taken out by this twist, then they definitely missed that opportunity. So
if Deshaun would have went home to that twist, Danny would have burnt the place down.
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking with me or
no?
what?
I think he was upset because you were taking away a W. There's a big difference between this and that, because there's
Frank, as much as I love the twist, as much as I love the consequence, let me rephrase it. As much as I love the consequence of being the first out of a challenge, I love that aspect. Like, you can't understate how much value that puts into people trying or sitting out and all that shit instead of just sitting out for food or whatever. Like, it's so much more valuable that there's a negative impact. Maybe you lose your vote, maybe whatever. I don't know.
That's a good option.
But being the first out, I love that twist that there's a negative impact in the game. I just completely hate the fact that it was like, oh yeah, by the way, you got like a 60% chance of going if you don't know what a money hall problem is, and good luck. Roll the dice.
Well, I mean, thank God that he didn't know, because if he had switched,
he
would be on the jury. I mean,
yes, Xander would have switched because Xander knew what it was. He said he whispered over to Danny or whoever was sitting beside him and said, "Oh,
I'm not switching. I'm never switching ever. Like, commit."
That's right. I'll switch every time.
Jeff has given his best. Howie Mandel up there, like, do you want to see what the other suitcase holds? No, banker, I don't.
Just open my fucking briefcase, please. Yeah. Thank you.
See, what I would like, if I was in that situation, I would do what Jordan did on the challenge and just go flip up the one that I want. When he did that, I forget which season it was. When you could flip over.
He didn't flip up the one. No, he didn't flip over. He flipped them all. That's totally different. If you can't just pick one,
well, I'm just going up there. I'm gonna go open up the one that I want. No, open up. What I'm saying is, I just go up and open the one I want. No question. No, don't give me a chance to second guess myself.
I love how production would let you do that too, right? Like, listen, here's what's gonna fucking.
Do you think they would be like, let's take that again? You sit back down. We're gonna read.
Yes, 100%.
If he was to destroy it and make it crazy entertaining, I think if it's entertaining, it makes the show. If it's entertaining, it doesn't break the rules.
That would have been entertaining, because
so you grab it and just open.
For real, like that's memorable. Even gosh, Free Agents was what, 8-9 years ago, and you can still remember that moment of Jordan going down there. Complete that.
But it's because
owning it.
Because Jordan said he was going in, and so he flipped all of them to make sure he went in.
But listen, it used to be
I just like the flashiness. I'm a flashy player.
It used to be against the rules to stand up at tribal and walk around. You used to have to stay seated or whatever, and people just broke the rules, and it was entertaining. So go figure, they let it in the show. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I feel like whatever, man. I think if it was entertaining and he went and said, "Fuck it, it's this box," and grabbed it and like held onto it and opened it up.
Was it an actual rule, or is it something that people assumed was a rule?
I think it was a rule.
Because I've seen people assume a lot. And like when I was playing Real Foot, we'd have a challenge, and I'd be like, "Oh, we can do it this way and get an advantage." And they'd be like, "Got a question? Can we do?" And I'm like, "Oh God,
just fucking do it."
If they don't tell you it's a rule, it's not a rule.
I had a boss one time tell me it's easier to ask forgiveness and permission, and that is definitely
100%.
A motto that I try to live my life by, because
that's how I live my life. That's how I live my life.
Well, we've heard survivors give their impressions or talk about the game, their experiences after they've played, and they've mentioned the vehicles that they get transported in from camp, close to tribal or wherever they're going, and they're not allowed to communicate. And they've told us how they've communicated and gotten in shit. They didn't get kicked off the show, and they still communicated, and it worked. And it's like the rules that are there, they're kind of like, yeah, just don't.
Tyson got gas out of a boat to start a fire, and it's like,
yeah.
Production had to build a cage around it.
Anything else to say about the do or die twist? Do you think this is something that we're going to see in a future season, or do you think it's one and done?
We will see it again.
Reworked.
I think it's back 100%. I think it'll be called something different, but I think we're going to see that negative impact of dropping first, and it's probably going to lose a vote.
Yeah, I think we see this again. Like last night was the end of the shot in the dark. Is that a twist we see again? Because I say
100%.
Ooh,
I think you see the shot in the dark again,
especially since it wasn't used.
Since it was used once.
I think we'll see it as a hybrid.
Oh yeah,
I could see fire tokens coming back, and that somehow being no. Listen, I could see fire tokens or something where the shot in the dark coin or dice or whatever you have has more like you. If you do it with this, you can't do it with that. Or if you know what I mean? Like I can see there being more dynamics to it, but just holding on to the dice the whole season and never using it was fucking boring as shit. Like there had to be some benefit to keeping it.
Yeah, I personally liked fire tokens, but I remember reading before the season started that I don't know if you guys know one of Jeff's chief advisors is Mike White from David versus Goliath, and he apparently during the pandemic was at Mike White's house and was telling him about the new season. He said, "We're doing this with the fire tokens, blah blah." And then Mike was like, "But are the fire tokens fun though?"
Yeah.
And literally, that's what it said in the interview that Jeff said in the interview. And he said, after that, we threw out the fire tokens and reworked everything. So you'll never see the fire tokens again because Mike White killed him. He got rid of the fire tokens.
I'm just saying, I can see it being, you don't have to call it fire tokens. I'm saying having a physical object or an artifact, whatever you want to call it, like the dice or a coin, and having it just sit in your pocket the whole season. And
I'm with you. I feel like there needs to be something with that.
Like they got to say, listen, if you happen to have this at Final 6, here's what you get. You pay your admission to a fucking feast or some shit. You know what I mean? Like whatever. You have it, there's an advantage other than just keeping your vote or whatever. Like I get it. But we never felt the weight. There was never a hard decision. You know, there's a couple pre-merge votes where we're like, fuck, why didn't Jeannie use her shot in the dark? Or why didn't whatever? But it didn't really impact the season at all. Just keeping it. All those people who have
you can't say it could have passively impacted the season because maybe we saw better blind sides. Maybe there would have been rounds where people were just straight up.
We did think that. I mean, Shan told what's her face she was good in the first episode. Yeah, right? She told I forgot her name. She was good in the first episode.
I get it. It added to the paranoia, and it picked up the pace because it's a short season. It got people paranoid quicker. There was value there. I'm just saying, as a viewer, you know, we see the paranoia, we get it. But unless you're analyzing the actual impact of having these things that never got used, you don't care about them. You know what I mean? All you're seeing is the paranoia. You enjoy it, but you're not like, oh, they're being paranoid because they've got tokens that they might use, and they might because we never see them talk about it. They should have done a confessional about it then, right? I don't know. If they just added that one extra element. You have it by Final 6 or you have it at Final 8, you get an advantage in the challenge. Yeah. But if you use it before then, or I don't know, some stupid shit. I don't know. But fuck, add some value or don't have it. Add value. I
think we'll see what happens in 42, right? When this come in February, we'll see because I'm sure it's going to be in 42, right? Because they haven't had time to figure out how it looks on TV and all that good stuff. Hadn't been edited, so I'm sure when they filmed 42, they still have the shot in the dark out there. But I think I'm with you guys. We'll see what happens at 43. Because if 42 is a dud as well, I think it might go the way of the dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we end up having people really play with it in 42, because that was the thing to me about the fire tokens was that you saw it for the first time in 40. I felt like coming into 41, there'll be a much better opportunity to utilize the fire tokens to your advantage because you would have seen it happen and then been able to play it out. And if you don't see the thing, you don't know what to do with it yet.
But we've seen the potential. That's the problem. We've seen the potential. Look at oh my God, what is Denise and Sandra, right? When you got people haggling over, okay, I'll give you 2 now, and I'll give you 1 now and 1 after, and all this, like those were the moments where you're like, ooh, there's a little twinkle there. There's a little bit of potential. I like it. Or what if you could trade your dice? You could give them to people. So now I can put 2 in the freaking box. Right? And I can pull 2 I don't know. I'm just making this shit up. But add more dynamics to it. Not just you hold on to this. You can't do anything with it. If you use it, you can't vote. Well, obviously I'm not going to fucking use it. I need to vote. Done. Season over.
Yeah.
Like it's just.
Well, at least it gives us another item that people can bid for in the auction afterwards.
There we go. Maybe I'll get something.
The auction, they never coming back.
No, I'm talking about the memorabilia auction. The more things they give to players, the more things they can auction off afterwards. Yeah. I think it goes to charity, so yeah.
But I love the attempt. I love the innovation. I love the try. You know, you can't hit everything, right? Not everything's gonna be a home run. but at least they're swinging. I like it.
You know, I never even thought about this either. Another way that the dice might have impacted the game is if you've got a bunch of dice sitting around camp, you have an opportunity to come up with some games to pass time.
Literally play a
you
game.
know, for real. Like that could be that little dice could give so much entertainment if you really think about it out there.
And nobody stole anybody else's dice or anything. Like
the gamer, the D&D player, and me. Every time I'd be like, "Hey." We'd be looking at it, and I'd be like, yeah, let's roll for it. roll initiative.
You want me to vote for you? You got to roll a 6. Whatever.
All right. So that is going to bring us to I almost said final tribal council. Getting ahead of myself a little bit. To tribal council and, this conversation that we get. I don't even know where to start.
I'll start it off for you.
Yeah, that's a good.
So, I've watched these shows for a million years, right? I've watched Survivor faithfully since like 13. Big Brother, the Cookout meant a lot to me, and so Survivor is a little bit different than Big Brother because we've had black winners before on Survivor. Earl, Vesepia, Jeremy, Wendell. We've had black winners before, and it's really tough in a lot of these games when there's not a lot of people that look like us or people that look like that you relate to. The three of you guys play the game. You see people that look like you all the time. You know what I'm saying? If you were to be out there, so when there's not a lot of people that look like you, it's tough. When I play in orgs, in the org community now, these online reality games, I tend to also try to gravitate to the other black people, if there is any, because a lot of times I'm the only one, and I'm by myself, because there's not a lot of people that are playing that look like me. It's a hard thing to do and reconcile. So when the four of them, JD and Abraham, when they're out there and they look around and there's people that look like you're going to have the desire to want to play with them because they do look like you. There's someone that you recognize and you know what I'm saying? It makes your life better. And then you have a responsibility that you feel because I don't want to let, like they said, your whole community down. Because you're putting that on your back, but you have to reconcile. Is this going to be good for my game here, or is this going to be good for me to be able to be representative in the community? Going back to Big Brother,
struggling with that,
it's hard. It's such a hard thing.
Struggling with that, yeah.
Yes, it is so hard. And if you look at, for instance, Big Brother, Tiffany Mitchell probably played the best game out there, and she had an ample opportunity to win if she went a different way. The worst way for her to try to win this game was to stick with the community because they did not have her best interest at heart. Claire, Derek, people along the way would have helped her get there, but she chose early on that playing for the community was more important than playing for herself. Partially because there was never a winner before. Survivors had them, so it's harder to do. So that's why Deshaun is struggling, because Deshaun knows that Shan is making this hard for me.
Yeah.
Liana is making this hard for me. And I'm sure it tore him up. And he even said it, that he had to vote Shan in order to continue to move forward in the individual portion of the game. And as Liana talked about, the first thing you see when she's out there is that she is a black woman. You don't hear about her going to Georgetown. You don't know the things that she's accomplishing at 20 years old. That doesn't matter because she's black. She's a black woman. That's first and foremost, first thing you're going to see. It makes it hard for us to do these things. So watching them talk about it, the three of them talk about it and touch on it, really touched me because it's something that we have to live with all the time.
Yeah, I would think just coming into the game and not being the only black person would take this ginormous burden off your shoulders from even just a strategy and social standpoint, because before, Survivor's a game where if you're wearing glasses early on, like, oh, this guy's not wearing glasses. Anything that sets you apart from the majority, the herd, is going to be a detriment to your game. So just the not having to worry about that when they stepped out and saw the diversity of the cast, I think was amazing.
It's funny though, Frank, too, because you know we're you and I are of a similar demographic, and the answer that you just gave is probably the impression that I would have had initially as well. But after listening to Xander give his answer, his response to the explanation and the details that were given by really eloquently by Liana, by the way, very, very articulate with the way that the struggle and the weight, yes, and the weight of representing what she feels she was representing in the game, and having Xander say, like, this is eye-opening to me because I don't represent anybody. I don't you know what I mean, because he said it himself, I've had the privilege of not having to think about that, right? Where because you and I would go in the game, like you just said, Frank, we might think, okay, great, I'm not the only outsider, right? It's kind of what you're saying. I don't have to worry about that anymore. But when I was listening to Liana and to Deshawn explain their aspect of it, I think they went into the game, because based on the history of reality TV shows, anticipating to be, for themselves in this game, and almost they had the weight unexpectedly put on them when they got there. I came in here fighting for myself. Holy shit. I just realized now I'm fighting for a whole different cause now. You know what I mean? Like, in addition to myself. And that's the battle that I feel like I was witnessing Deshawn go through, where he went in prepared to play for himself. Now he's in the position where, and willingly so, but unexpectedly, he's also fighting for a different, for a larger community. Right, he's representing a whole group of people.
It's emotional challenge that they got. It's turmoil that they got to deal with
that weight, and even in a representative season, it's almost ironic that even in a representative season, it was another weight that Deshawn and his alliance had to deal with that people like Heather and Xander didn't have to deal with, and I feel like that right there is even more exemplifies.
You mentioned that when you go out there and you see others that look like you, you're like, okay, this takes the weight off my shoulders. Robbie's correct, though. And in fact, puts a bigger weight on your shoulder, because I knew going in day one that I was going to be by myself. Now I have just been given an ally that I need to now make sure I get to the end with as far as I can together. I think about when I played Pandemic. I played Pandemic in org, and the very first vote, they were trying to vote out this woman named Raven, and Raven's black, and they're like, Kev, can you vote Raven? And I'm like, I cannot vote Raven, especially not first. There's no way I'm writing Ravens down, especially first. And they're like, well, Raven doesn't really talk to anyone. And I said, you're not hearing me. I am not writing Raven's name down. I don't care that she's never been here. I'm not writing Raven's name down. Then after someone else flipped and Raven stayed, someone tried to tell Raven that I voted against her, and she said, there's no way Kevin wrote my name down. Because there's no way I would have written Kevin's name down, because of, like we just said, the new responsibility. I didn't come into the game, I didn't know her, I never met her before. Yeah. But I came into the game and I knew that on that first tribe vote that there was, especially on that first tribe, but through that whole tribe, that there was someone else that I had to look out for. It becomes it's not a burden. I just want to say that it's not a burden, but it becomes a responsibility. And that's what the four of them linking up, like you guys mentioned, Liana linking up with Shan at when they went up there. It became a responsibility. They have to look out for each other because no one else is looking out for them as far as they know, especially as black women. Yep. So it was a responsibility, not a burden. It's something that you have to do, and you, which is why, like you said with Deshawn, he struggled with it heavily. Yeah. We've talked about Deshawn and Danny separating themselves. They're not, because it's something that they have to. That's a responsibility. You have to look out for your brother. You have to look out for your brother. to the best of your ability.
Yeah, well, and hopefully it doesn't continue to be a burden. Hopefully we get more allies.
It's not a burden. Not a burden.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean.
But you know what? And something I want to say too is, you know, we've seen the, like you said, the Cookout Alliance you referred to earlier in Big Brother, and the method that alliance took when it was kind of just straight up sacrifice the personal gain for that alliance. Do you know what I mean? For what that alliance represents. And it took a lot of flack from a lot of folks when it comes to, okay, Tiffany was there to win money, and could, you know, if she would have won, would the same message still have been sent in a way where, okay, I'm still representing my community by winning the game and by playing the strongest game, but also by working with members of my community. And that's where, you know, like I said, a lot of the social media was like, okay, well, they're not even playing strategy anymore, yada, 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 which I disagree with. I don't think it was that extreme. But I feel like what I'm getting at here is I feel like Deshaun is kind of nailing like a happy medium here where he's been extremely supportive of his alliance. And if he could have, he would have went as far as he could have with that alliance. But it got to the point now where he's kind of balancing, like I said, like his desire to represent that community, which he's still doing as an individual, but he's also still working with Danny, and he's still supported that alliance as far as he could. So I'm curious how it's going to be interpreted, you know, in the greater public on, okay, is he abandoning that kind of mission that he was on, or that kind of responsibility that he had? Or is he finding the perfect balance of, I'm representing my community, but I'm also representing myself within that community as, you know what I mean, to be the best representative of it.
It's, as a member of the community that we're speaking of, the Black community, I don't feel like he abandoned us. And the reason I don't is because we've had Black winners before. If anyone in the cookout were to have strayed, I would have been extremely disappointed, because we've never had the opportunity before in Big Brother. Whereas in Survivor, we've had winners before. So if I would hope that you want to work with the community as much as you can, which is what Deshaun and Danny did.
Yeah.
And then it felt like it got to a point, and it's partially because Shan wanted to keep Ricard. If Shan didn't want to keep Ricard, I don't think they turn.
Yeah. Then again, Deshaun could have went to Shan, right? Deshaun could have went to Shan and said, listen, we're falling apart. Let's get back together. I know what you did.
I feel like he did.
I forgive you for going to Ricard. Let's get past it. Let's, you know what I mean? Like there was more moves.
I feel like he felt like he did.
But
I feel like he felt like.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just feel like he felt like he came to Shan a bunch.
Yeah, that's fair.
He did a little bit, but like I'm sure he felt like he kept coming to Shan, and she wasn't listening.
But you have to admit, Deshaun, you know, he mentioned it. Like he was almost waiting for, okay, I'm not going to be the first one to pull the trigger here on breaking this alliance up, but if I get a whiff that Shan is doing anything past what she's already done, because he's already mentioned how she was driving him nuts, and then early on when the alliance initially formed, he said, I'd be a fool not to take advantage of this. You know what I mean? To work. This is another, he said, like another tool in my arsenal, or weapon in my arsenal, or some phrase like that, of alliances that I can work with. So even when he initially framed it, he wanted to represent his community, but he was also speaking of it from a game perspective, where I'm going to use this alliance to represent, but also to help myself, because it's double beneficial.
Yeah.
So if there was somebody who was going to be the first to make the move, Deshaun was open about being that person,
being the one
for the viewers, at least early on. Yeah.
I think if Shan wasn't a superstar player, I don't think he would have even thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard that, you know, I agree with you, Kevin, in that, I mean, it's not part of the community, but, you know, I mean, I would feel like Deshaun, well, really all four of them have represented it well, but, you know, Deshaun, he tried to be as true to that as possible until the very last minute. And, you know, he had to make a decision that ultimately was, you know, more beneficial for him as an individual. But, you know, like, I don't look at it as, oh, you know, he betrayed this. And him and Danny, they voted Shan out. And, you know, the whole mission is, you know, unsuccessful. You know, I think that Danny said it is that ultimately, like, you know, this is creating conversations. And, you know, I've never like Kevin, you saying, okay, I've played these orgs and I'm the only, sometimes I'm the only Black person in an org. Like, there's been very, very few circumstances in my whole life where I've been the minority. And so I can't even put myself in that situation because it's very rarely happened. And so, to hear you say it and to hear you explain it and to hear them giving their, experiences, it's just an opportunity to create conversation and for everyone to learn something. And, ultimately, everywhere in the world, hopefully we can get to the point where, it doesn't matter. And, we can just come into it and we can all be one.
I think we're going in the right direction. I really hope so. I hope.
Yeah, but keep in mind where we're speaking from. I just want to check a little bit at the door. I agree with you, but it's also easy for me in this position to sit in my chair and say, "Oh yes, we're making a lot of progress," and yada yada yada. But then again, how would I know?
Well, you're watching it. You're watching progress in front of you on this season.
I think the most powerful thing
in Big Brother,
I think the most powerful thing that I took away from this entire tribal council, the episode really, in the season so far, is the fact that I got a glimpse of the weight that Deshaun was carrying. I got a glimpse of it, and I can't say I understand it. I can't say I relate to it because, like I said, I haven't lived that life. But like I said, I got a glimpse of it just based on his heartfelt emotion, the way he described it, and when Liana spoke to the audience through Jeff, through the camera, and said, "Listen, for all of you people out there who are probably not even knowing Big Brother had happened at this point, right?" And this is the best part of this whole speech. When Liana says,
this is before Big Brother, yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So when Liana said, for all of you people out there who are sitting here saying, "Hey, we're wanting to watch a game show here, something that's fun and upbeat and it's Survivor, yada, yada," and all of a sudden you're bringing real life into it. And she pretty much says, tough shit. For us, this is real life. Like it's almost like saying I'm sorry that it's not just your real life that's on the TV show. Now we're being representative, and this is real life. Like, what you're watching is the game for us. And maybe take the fact that you're noticing it and you feel uncomfortable as the symptom, you know what I mean? As a sign that, hey, maybe you should be listening right now instead of being negative about what you're hearing. And I thought that was really powerful, the way that she articulated that. And it was really a shame, the sad irony of it, where they were admitting, I think Liana or Danny, as we saw in the comments, were saying, work together because of what we represent, but we never said all four of us are going to the end no matter what. We're going to sacrifice our games. And, people had to get out because they're a big threat, right? Like Shannon had to get voted out because she's a huge threat. And then Liana, goes home moments later. Yeah. But I'm glad that the message was given the way that it was, because, myself included, some of us need to hear this a little bit more often, I think.
Kevin, we'll throw it to you to, give any last comments.
It's progress. The progress that was done by BB Can and Arissa Cox has definitely raised the prestige, if you will, of all these CBS shows, because by Arissa going out there and saying and stating that they were going to have 50% people of color, it then forced CBS's hand to do the same, and they pretty much scrapped the cast and had to start over because that wasn't the initial 41 cast. They went and did something different, and having more diverse stories on your screen is going to be able to give you more diverse stories in your lives, and the diversity everywhere. Right? We have Evie who is non-binary. We have Ricard, who is gay. We have just people with multitudes of different things that we see in our world out here on the island, and then we're able to hear and see their stories, which also leads me back to Heather, because we're talking about her not getting any kind of screen time. She has a story to tell too, right? We just want these stories told. It'll help improve everything. And with them coming off George Floyd and all that stuff going on, it's a real tough time, and it's hard. It's important to represent who we are. And I love the fact that this one of the best games in the world is able to change how they used to do things and is now able to present these stories. and we're able to see these people as people. And I'm personally proud of Shan and Liana, Danny, and Deshaun to go out there, and I feel like they have represented the multifaceted processes of my community.
Very well said. I mean, I don't have anything to, to add to that. Like, your experiences and your voice is so important for people to hear. So I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. We here at For the Fans try to be as diverse as possible too. Like, I'm trying to kick myself off and get some other people on there. I told Robbie, like,
we're trying, y'all.
This is the max limit for white dudes. Like, we can't. We cannot get another white dude on here.
I should have a shared key.
Now
only one of us has access to the room here. And
now taking applications. All right, so let's see if we can pull up a few comments. I know that we've gotten a few good ones in here.
Arissa is queen. That should be up on the screen.
Yeah, I really
Frank
like
is lying. I don't know what he's lying about, but that's Bob.
Only to you, Bob.
Bob. You guys were trying to get rid of me. Yeah, you guys were when I had to leave real quick.
Oh, I was lying. Robbie is the one that presented the final three, though. I'm not lying about that.
Whoa, Frank. Come on, man. Be honest, Frank.
I just jumped on board and sold out, Kiley.
Also asks, might this be the first season since Ages Past where an idol doesn't get played? So what is the likelihood that we do not see Xander play his idol next week? That will be his final round, and obviously he's going to play it, so is it even going to be
no, he might have 2 episodes, right? We're at final 6.
It might be good to 5. I thought it was good to 6, but it might be good to 5.
I think he plays it for sure.
For some reason, 6 is sticking out to me too, but past seasons have definitely been 5.
Okay. All right. I think he plays
if the idol's good till 6, I think he plays it at 5 or 6, whichever one he could last play it at.
I think the classic Survivor move that somebody like Ricard, with the gameplay that he's been doing, would make is to make him feel comfortable, to not play the idol, and to put the votes on him, or do the opposite, make him feel paranoid. But that hasn't been working because he's asked him multiple times to play it, and he hasn't played it. Ricard literally said, "You should play your idol," and he didn't play it. So I can see Ricard trying the other tactic and being like you're good. And then, but once again, I see Xander seeing through it because he's known every vote so far. He's been safe. He hasn't used it. So, yeah.
I think he uses it at the last available second. I don't think this is a season where we don't see an idol play. I think we definitely see an idol play, and I think it's going to be though at the last possible moment.
Yeah, I mean he's going to either play it in this next. I don't know, y'all. Like my brain is too tired to even think about when final 6 is the final time to play it. What are we at? We are at final 6. Yes.
Yes,
we're there now. So if it's 6,
final 5, I thought was how it used to be. Final 5 was the last time to play it. So I don't know if this season is different. I could be very wrong. I just know in the past it's been final 5.
Wrong too.
I'm trying to find out.
I think it's 6 because I think at 5, because I think you have one chance to get him out before the fire making challenge.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too, but I think we see Xander play his idol in this next episode kind of regardless. I think he's either going to win immunity or he's going to play his idol, and he is a damn fool if he doesn't play it. So I think we see an idol play now, whether or not it is successful, TBD. Do we think that there's an idol re-hidden since we do see Danny at least looking for an advantage? Hopefully he does find it and pick it up. What do y'all think that parchment is? Is it an idol or is it some other kind of advantage?
I think there's some big twist because like the way they've been pacing it, you had the turn back time, then you had the do or die a couple episodes later. I don't think something big is going to happen the next episode, but well, I mean maybe we're running into episodes, right? Like there's one more big. There's no way the do or die is the last big twist, right? There's got to be something that's like causes fucking mayhem. I don't know what it is.
This will be the first time that potentially, unless whatever that advantage is, unless it saves somebody and we don't have anybody voted out in the next episode, we will be going into the finale episode with only 5 people. Typically the finale is 6. So
if Xander wins immunity, what if Xander wins immunity at 6? He doesn't need to use it. Yeah.
Does he play it for somebody else? Like there's so much here. I can't wait to see.
Yeah. If we're going into the final at 5, which is what looks looking like is happening, and the idol is no good there, I think that he plays on somebody else if he wins immunity at 6. I think the idol gets played regardless, but he's gonna probably like save Erica or Heather or something. Someone that he feels is working with him. It's not going to be Ricard.
You're fucking crazy.
It's not going to be Ricard.
Ricard is a hell of a player, though, man. Like,
yeah.
It'd be a stupid move to save Ricard, but if somebody could talk somebody,
I feel like he could sell maple syrup to you, Robbie.
Probably, but then I'd buy it willingly anyway. It's maple syrup.
So I don't. No, he cannot. That's the point. Is that he can't. He's not a good salesman. The point was that he has the good strategy. Shan implemented the strategies. That's what their dynamic was. So now that Shan's gone, I don't see him really selling a plan.
Ricard doesn't have.
Well, if you can speak to someone's interest, if he can see someone's interest and speak to them, that goes a long way.
What interest would he have to speak to Xander if he's
some
the biggest threat
before
there?
That shouldn't be able to fly, but I framed it in such a way that it did. One of our people in our community, Philip, I framed him as a threat, and people bought it. So I mean, we all know Philip.
He was able to get that Core 4 Alliance to vote somebody out twice in a row. Do you know what I mean? Like, not only that, he was part of the reason why they split the vote between 2 of their members. A very core reason why he went to Deshaun. He spun the.
So you're Robbie,
right?
Rob, you're telling me that you think. You're telling me that you think that he's gonna convince Xander to play the idol on him and keep him around?
No, I'm saying if somebody could.
Okay, thank you.
I'm saying
tell Frank to go fly a kite.
I want.
Tell Frank to go fly a kite.
I didn't say it was going to happen. I said I want.
No, I think Xander, it would be beautiful if he used it to save somebody that he wanted to bring to the end because he knew he could beat them. And then if he got to the end, he could spit that out as like, listen, my biggest move was using my idol to get that big target out. Keep
Heather here. Yeah, keep Heather here.
Right, and then watch Heather win. I'm kidding.
All right, so we are 2 weeks from the finale. Who is your winner pick?
Oh shit.
Frank.
Shan.
Damn it. Frank.
My winner pick. Oh.
Goddamn.
I don't know. I feel like if they don't get Xander and Ricard out, one of them could win. I think there's a path for Erica to win. I think Danny could win.
Everybody but Heather. Everybody but Heather.
I think everyone but Heather has a shot to win. I don't know if Deshaun will get there.
Pick a person.
Who do I...
Make a pick.
I'm going to go with who I want to win then. Ricard.
Okay. Kevin.
I am going to say that Erica wins this game.
Fuck, that'd be awesome.
Robbie.
I think there's a good possibility.
Although I don't want her to win because then we'd already have a Canadian winner and then I wouldn't be able to use that. But, God damn. You know what? I picked preseason. I picked Deshaun in our little fantasy league or whatever. But, fuck, man. I can't not say Ricard. I'm going to say Ricard. I think, man, he has a hell of a story this whole game. I'm saying Ricard.
Yeah, so I think I am going to join Robbie and Frank, and I'm going to make Ricard my winner pick with 2 weeks to go. I really, really agree that I can see a path for 5 of these people winning. I have a little bit harder time seeing Danny and Deshaun and Xander. Like, I really think this is between Ricard and Erica.
It all comes down to these fucking twists that we're going to keep getting.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think it's been an enjoyable season. I know some people haven't loved it, but I've enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. Anything else, y'all?
It's going to be a 3 versus 3 immunity challenge, and 3 people are going to be immune, and everybody, it's going to be a shit show. And no, I'm kidding. No, that's all I got.
I'm enjoying that they're mixing it up, and we don't know people. 4 fans right here that have watched every bit of content you can watch have no idea what's going to happen. I think that's beautiful. But some of you have played in my minis, so you know I like random chaos. So.
All right. So, Frank, anything to plug?
No, just Kevin's top 5. That's all I got to plug. We're
Top 5 Go podcast. Take a listen to that. Also listen to DCOM After Dark. It's a podcast that I do where we review Disney Channel original movies. Thank you guys for having me here on the recap. I normally just do the Fan Says show where we do the retrospective.
The show we just did, the Fans
Have Spoken. The Fans. I normally just do that, but I am happy to be here now for this. This has been fun. Thank you guys for having me. Listen to my other shows. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw the game night gauntlet that we had. That was fun. For anybody who's interested in playing a mini that is actually around 3 hours or less, as advertised, I had a blast playing that. Frank, you ran that. And keep an eye on, obviously, the Facebook page there for more details on when the next game night gauntlet is going to come out, or just game nights that we have.
I have one more thing to plug. Apply for Pandemic. It's an org that Kiley is on right now. Watch her play. You can see it on YouTube. Episodes are airing every Sunday and every Wednesday. The second episode just aired yesterday. Check that out. We're taking applications right now for the next season of that. It's just like Survivor 50-50.
We need a soundboard. We need a soundboard right now.
You can see if all this shit that I talk and all this strategy that I think I have, am I actually able to put it into a play and see if I can, do anything. 2 episodes in, I haven't gotten voted out yet. So,
yes.
Make sure you check that out. It is very fun. And hopefully Frank and I will be back sometime this week to do a little challenge recap update. It's been a hot minute, but
I'm gonna knock the dust off the challenge.
Knock the dust off. Talk a little bit about this before we get into the finale, and probably talk a little bit about All Stars. So we will see you guys next time. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, drop us a comment, let us know your thoughts on everything that's happening in the world of Survivor, and make sure you subscribe to For the Fans so you get a notification every time we go live, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, y'all.